This free course will help any entrepreneur selling a high-ticket offer, whether it be a coach, consultant, or agency owner, learn how to fill their pipeline with qualified sales calls. Imagine going from an empty calendar all the way to having a flooded calendar with 10 to 20 qualified appointments every single week booked entirely on autopilot. So in this 100% free resource, I'll be breaking down step by step how you can actually build out this system for your own company. These are the things that other gurus sell for thousands of dollars online, but I'll be giving it to you for completely zero cost. Well, my name is Lloyd Yip, and I'm the founder of Attract and Scale. The last several years, I've helped over 130 plus companies around the world systematize their growth processes so that they can acquire clients on autopilot. I have more client testimonials than most people even have customers to begin with. For example, Manjeet here, who's been able to scale to 64K per month, Chris Chow, 100K per month, Ria, 91K per month, and there's so many more examples. In today's video, I'll be sharing with you exactly how all of them were able to generate those results, and I'll be breaking it down step by step. So first off, here are the chapters that we'll be talking about in this extensive video course. So chapter 1, what is the overall theory and system of how you can actually generate leads today? Chapter 2, how do you actually deploy content and lead magnets in order to make it so that you have significantly more trust and goodwill with your potential prospects so that they have an easier time booking calls and buying your products? Chapter 3, what is the exact email system that we utilize in order to generate qualified calls consistently? We'll talk about how you build the lists, how you can actually set up the copywriting in your outreach, as well as which automation tools we use in order to scale this entire system out. Chapter 4, we'll talk about how you can generate leads using social media. That would include LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. We'll talk about how you can find your ideal prospects on social, how you can actually reach out to them in a way which is compelling and gets them to respond, and ultimately how you can even scale this out using automation and delegation. Next chapter, we'll talk about utilizing appointment setters so that you can actually delegate and automate this entire system so that you're generating calls even while you're sleeping or on vacation. And the final chapter is how you can actually deploy paid media in order to accelerate your results and make things infinitely more scalable. Now, I highly recommend that you don't skip any sections in this program, as everything builds upon the previous chapter. For example, even if you're interested in trying to learn cold email outreach, without understanding how you can use lead magnets and content, cold email will not be as effective. So consume everything, it'll ultimately make your results better. With that being said, let's get straight into it. All right, so the first thing that I want to talk about is how people are normally trying to generate leads and sales calls today, and what it is that they're typically doing wrong, which is costing them not just a lot of money, but also a lot of time. And then afterwards, I'll actually share with you the system that you should be using in order to generate lots and lots of calls in a fairly autopilot manner and actually have it be cost efficient as well. Now, these next couple minutes, I'm really just looking at this more from a 10,000 foot view perspective, but over the course of this entire video series, I'll be going extremely in depth into all the little nitty gritty tiny things. So just stay tuned and I'll be able to break down those other elements later. But here's the 10,000 foot view, okay? First off, what are people usually doing now which does not work? And you might actually see that some of these methods are currently what you're doing now. The first method that I see all the time is that people are overly reliant on referrals. They're just waiting for their network to essentially say, hey, here's someone that I know that might be interested. And yes, this can be great because these leads are typically pretty warm and they might be in the market already looking for a solution such as yours, but very unscalable, very inconsistent. You essentially have no control, which is a big issue when it comes to referrals. And then next you have cold outreach, which is a very popular method of client acquisition. A lot of people do this in the early days of their business because it's easy to set up and it costs, frankly, very little money. But the downside with cold outreach is that everyone does it. So because everyone does it, it's very hard to get responses because the audience has now kind of built this blindness to cold outreach. They're kind of annoyed by it, frankly. So much of it is perceived as spam. And certainly the people who are getting pitched cold don't really trust you, so it's a much harder sell for them given that they're a stranger. Next is organic content, which actually I think is really important, and we'll talk about why it's really important. But if you are deploying organic content and just randomly posting stuff on LinkedIn or Instagram or YouTube thinking that it's going to get customers, the reality is most of the time it doesn't. Certainly just posting content doesn't equate to revenue, and even likes and follows don't equate to revenue. So where is the missing gap here? We'll talk about that a little bit more in this video series. And then finally, paid ads also can work very well, but the biggest problem that most people have is that they just don't get a high enough return. They spend $1 and maybe they're only getting $1 back or $1.50 back or $2 back, or they spend $1 and it takes them like several months before they can even make their money back at all. The issue here is, how do you actually make sure that your return on ad spend is actually good? So given all of this, what is the system that actually does work today? Well, here it is at a high level. And once again, over the course of the entire video series, I'll break down every one of these steps in finer detail, and I'll even share with you how we do it. The thing to understand is that there's really 3 components that you need to be able to have solid in order to generate sales calls that are qualified and want to actually buy your products. The first component is traffic. The second is indoctrination, and the third component is conversion. Traffic is simple. It's just eyeballs. People need to know that you exist. But then it's not enough to just have traffic, because even if people know that you exist, it doesn't mean that they're going to be trusting you enough to book a sales call with you or buy your stuff. And that's why it's important that there is indoctrination. And this is the second stage, where you're actually getting the people who know you to actually like and trust you. And this is a big problem. A lot of people don't even do this at all. This is where you start seeing issues such as you send a cold DM and you just ask someone straight up for a sales call even though they know nothing about you, and they don't book that call because there just isn't that level of trust needed. So instead, we're gonna have this middle section, indoctrination, where we're gonna give them free value, free content, lead magnets, so that they start to think about us as an expert. And that is going to make it significantly easier for us to ultimately get to the third stage, which is conversion, where we're asking them to ultimately book into a call and buy our products. So traffic, indoctrination, and conversion. How do we do this? Well, there's a couple methods, right? There's multiple streams of which you can get eyeballs, whether it be organic outreach or it's paid traffic. And then obviously within the content itself, there's a lot of different ways that you can deploy your indoctrination content. And we'll talk about that in more depth as well in this video series. And then finally, how do you actually get people to book into a call? Lots of different ways that you can do this as well. So these are all the things that we're going to be discussing in depth in this video course. So if you're excited for this, let's just get straight into it.